Have you ever wondered if you could transform your teeny tiny yard into a flourishing farm? Or maybe convert that back corner of your property into a powerhouse of fresh veggies, luscious fruit, and even some playful critters? In this video, you'll discover exactly how to define your farm goals, pick the perfect spot, prepare your soil like a pro, grow mouth-watering produce, and maybe even host some adorable animals. But there's one borderline bizarre goat secret I've been dying to share. Except I'll only spill those beans right at the very end. Ready to dig deep? Let's jump in! Before we dive in, let me just say that anyone, yes, even you with the 10-foot by 10-foot patio can follow these steps. Some folks imagine farmland as rolling hills and massive tractors, but your own personal farm can be as simple as a few raised beds or a small flock of egg-laying hens in the backyard. The beauty is in starting small and learning through every seed you plant. In fact, a lot of people find that beginning with a mini-scale operation helps them avoid being overwhelmed. Think of it like dipping your toes in the water rather than cannonballing straight into the deep end. Plus, smaller plots mean you can focus on higher intensity gardening techniques like companion planting or square foot gardening to really maximize every inch of space. Stick around till the finish, because the goat trick isn't just a random gotcha moment. It's a perfect example of how simple solutions can solve big problems, even when you're dealing with mischievous animals that act like they've got a personal vendetta against your fences. All right, let's waltz over to the first big step. So you want to sprout cucumbers galore, start a side hustle selling organic eggs, or simply produce enough kale to make your neighbours wonder if you've joined a salad cult. It all begins with clarifying why you're doing this. Are you looking for a tranquil hobby, total self-reliance, or a lucrative small business? Your reasons will guide everything else. And yes, even if you've only got a backyard the size of a postage stamp, you can still harvest an impressive yield. Understanding your motivation is more crucial than most people think. If you're aiming for self-sufficiency, you'll prioritize a balanced variety of crops, maybe throw in some livestock for eggs or dairy. If it's a business you're after, you might focus on high-demand produce, unique heirloom varieties, or artisanal goodies that fetch premium prices at local markets. Also, don't overlook the sheer joy factor. Farming, big or small, can bring daily mini wins, like the first ripe tomato of the season or a hen laying an egg with a perfectly speckled shell. By pinning down what makes you tick, you'll stay motivated when you're pulling weeds at 7 a.m. or wrestling with a stubborn hose nozzle that refuses to stay attached. And here's a fun mental exercise. Imagine you're throwing a big backyard barbecue in a year. What do you want to serve that's proudly homegrown? That question alone can guide you towards your initial crop list or livestock choice, helping you keep your sights set on the delicious or profitable outcome that awaits. Rural paradise or urban backyard, each has its perks. Rural spaces often have fewer rules and more room for livestock. Urban or suburban spots can be surprisingly productive, but you might need to chat with that neighbour who side-eyes your tomato trellis. Pro tip: investigate local zoning laws. Some HOAs get weird about pet chickens clucking at dawn. Also, test soil quality for hidden heavy metals. Or, if the dirt's dreadful, set up raised beds with fresh, clean soil. When you're scoping out potential land, whether it's a modest backyard or several acres, pay attention to sunlight. Plants crave that sweet golden glow, so check how many hours of direct sun you actually get. Use free apps on your phone to track sun movement, or simply observe which areas remain sun-drenched throughout the day. It's amazing how much difference a bit of shade can make to your yield. Lastly, think about accessibility. If you're planning a larger farm, how easy is it to get equipment in and out? If you're in a suburban neighborhood, how will deliveries or potential customers find your place? Even a small backyard can benefit from a clear and tidy layout that allows you to maneuver garden carts or haul in a batch of soil amendments without twisting your ankle on rogue tree roots. Whether you're mapping out 5 acres or 5 planter boxes, it's helpful to sketch a layout. Plot out where your veggies, sheds or orchard might go, then remove anything that doesn't belong, like rocks, debris, or that random plastic flamingo you forgot you shoved in the shed. No-till versus tilling. That's your choice. No-till protects soil structure, while tilling can help break up compacted ground. Either way, definitely do a soil test to figure out your pH, nutrients and which fertilizers or amendments you'll need. If you're a visual learner, consider using free mapping software or even just doodling on graph paper. You'd be surprised how satisfying it is to see your future garden layout come to life on a screen or on paper before you've ever touched a seed. It also helps you spot potential trouble spots, like that shady corner that might be better suited for a compost bin instead of tomatoes. Speaking of compost bins, plan out an area for one, no matter how small your space is. Composting kitchen scraps and yard waste is a superpower for any gardener, turning trash into treasure that improves soil fertility and texture. Just be mindful of local critters who might see your compost pile as a late-night buffet. If you do choose to till, remember to do it responsibly. Tilling wet soil can cause clumps and destroy beneficial organisms. Wait until your soil is moist but not soggy, like a wrung-out sponge. If you opt for no-till, you can lay a cardboard or newspaper over the ground and top it with organic matter. Earthworms will do the grunt work of incorporating it all, giving you a nutrient-rich surface to plant in. Hold up! Before you decide if you're Team Tractor or Team Tiny Shovel, go ahead and tickle that like button and subscribe. I've heard if you don't, your kale might develop a sassy attitude and refuse to grow more than 2 leaves. Don't say I didn't warn you. Healthy soil equals happy plants. Adjust pH with lime or sulfur, toss in compost to boost nutrients, and maybe try cover crops to keep dirt stable. Got a small yard? Consider worm composting. A wriggly clan of earthworms will transform kitchen scraps into black gold faster than you can say banana peel smoothie. One overlooked aspect is soil structure. If your soil feels like a brick when dry and sticky putty when wet, it's probably heavy clay. Sandy soil might drain too quickly and leave your plants parched. Loamy soil is the gold standard, crumbly, rich and just begging to grow something delicious. Adding organic matter steadily improves any soil type, so don't skimp on compost. Cover crops, often called green manure, are a phenomenal way to replenish nutrients. Plant something like clover or rye in your off-season, then till it under or chop it up and let it decompose on top. This extra layer of organic material boosts fertility and wards off soil erosion, a real lifesaver if you live in a region prone to heavy rain or wind. And don't forget about soil testing. It might sound about as thrilling as reading a phone book, but seeing those pH and NPK levels can pinpoint exactly what your ground lacks. If you're short on nitrogen, you can add blood meal or well-rotted manure. If your pH is off, you can apply the right amendments. Think of it like a soil checkup. It's crucial for optimum plant health. Rain barrels rock if you're aiming for eco-friendly hydration. Otherwise, a simple garden hose or drip line works wonders, less water waste, fewer pesky weeds. Just picture your veggies sipping away through tiny straws all day long. If you rely on well water, test it once in a while to ensure your peppers don't end up tasting like iron nails. A giant barn is fabulous if you're raising cows, but backyard folks might do fine with a small tool shed or a bit of garage space. Fence off your perimeter to keep raccoons from staging midnight snack attacks. If you have livestock, even just a few chickens, give them comfortable housing with proper ventilation. Trust me, you do not want to smell a poorly ventilated coop at high noon. On a larger farm, you might need a tractor and a brush cutter. For a petite yard, You'll survive with a sturdy shovel hand trowel rake and maybe a lightweight electric tiller. Also, snag some protective gear. Nobody wants to lose a pinky toe in a freak wheelbarrow accident. What do you love to eat? Start there. If your region is chilly, cold hardy greens and root veggies are your jam. Warmer climates allow for tomatoes, peppers and melons. Looking for variety? Plant some fruit bushes or orchard trees. And for the adventurous, try experimenting with weird heirloom seeds that yield purple carrots or stripes-on-stripes tomatoes. Variety keeps it exciting. While it's tempting to plant every veggie under the sun, start with a short list, especially if you're new. Nothing deflates excitement faster than watching a dozen different crops fail because you spread yourself too thin. Learn the quirks of a few types of produce and expand as your confidence grows. Consider the concept of succession planting if you want a continuous harvest. This means starting new seeds or transplants every couple of weeks. Instead of one big carrot harvest that overwhelms you, you'll get a steady trickle. It's like having your personal produce department in your yard, restocking itself periodically. Also, look up companion planting charts. Certain combos, like basil near tomatoes, can help repel pests or enhance flavor. Meanwhile, some pairs, like onions next to beans, don't get along as well. It's kind of like seating guests at a wedding. You want the ones who play nice together for the best results. Kick off the fun by starting seeds indoors with grow lights or just chuck them in your sunniest window. Once they sprout, gradually introduce them to the outdoors. Don't shock them by plopping them straight into blazing sunlight. If you've got seeds that like to stay put, such as carrots, sow them directly in the garden bed. And yes, thinning out baby seedlings feels heartbreaking, but your plants will thank you later. For those new to indoor seed starting, consider a simple setup: a cheap shelving unit, some fluorescent or LED lights, and seed trays with domes. Keeping the humidity high helps those seeds germinate happily. Just be cautious about overwatering. Mold can turn your trays into a fuzzy science experiment. As seedlings develop their first true leaves, give them a gentle breeze, literally. A small fan can help strengthen their stems and prevent damping off disease, which is that tragic moment when seedlings collapse like deflated balloons. Strong stems mean they're better prepared for the actual wind outside. Hardening off is crucial, but often overlooked. Start by letting your seedlings get a little indirect sun for an hour or two. Each day extend their outdoor adventure. After about a week, they should handle full sun like champs, and you can transplant them without the drama of sudden sunburn or wind shock. Weeds are inevitable, but mulch is your best friend. Lay down straw, wood chips, or even grass clippings to smother out unwanted growth and help your soil retain moisture. Dealing with pests, ladybugs, row covers, or homemade soap sprays can keep aphids at bay. As for diseases, spacing out plants and rotating crops each season minimizes fungal surprise parties. Got a big pumpkin or watermelon patch? Keep an eye out for sneaky mildew or squash-loving bugs. Now I have to know, what's the wildest pest or weed invasion you've encountered? Did a groundhog nibble your lettuce, or maybe a sneaky caterpillar tried to move into your kitchen? Drop a comment below and share your craziest garden saga, or just say hi if you're brand new to all this. Time to enjoy the fruits of your labor, literally. Harvest veggies at their peak for maximum yum. Gently wash and chill them if needed, or store them in a root cellar if you're the fancy type. Have more produce than you can eat? Sell it, donate it, or barter with your neighbor who always has too many zucchini muffins. You don't need a full-blown animal kingdom, but a couple of chickens can supply eggs and endless silly entertainment. Maybe you fancy rabbits for top-notch manure, or goats if you're feeling really daring. Always provide them a cozy home, a nutritious diet, and keep a vet's number on speed dial, just in case your four-legged friends decide to go on a fence-jumping adventure. If you're brand new to animal care, chickens are often the best starter livestock. They're relatively low maintenance, they turn kitchen scraps into eggs, and they're basically living composters. Just be prepared for some gentle clucking at sunrise, and maybe toss them a few mealworms every now and then for a feathered rave party. Rabbits are another low-key option. Their manure is considered cold, meaning you can apply it directly to the garden without the risk of burning your plants. They're also quiet, making them perfect for urban homesteads where noise complaints might be an issue. Just be careful. They're experts at nibbling on anything in sight, including your prized lettuce bed if given the chance. Goats? Well, goats are hilarious and endearing, but they're the Houdinis of the animal world. If there's a way to escape, they'll find it or invent it. They'll also test your patience by sampling your favourite rose bushes. Yet many goat owners swear the companionship, fresh milk, if you choose dairy breeds, and unstoppable lawn mowing skills are totally worth the occasional fence repair. Selling your produce or eggs. Farmers markets, CSA subscriptions, or just a roadside stand can work wonders. Keep your branding sharp, get a quirky sign, or design cute labels. If you're feeling tech-savvy, show off your harvest on social media. Your kale might go viral, who knows? Before you dive into sales, do a little market research. Check local grocery store prices and see if you can offer something special, like unusual heirloom tomatoes or organically raised eggs. People love unique finds, and a friendly smile at your stand never hurts either. CSAs, or community-supported agriculture, are a fantastic way to get upfront payments from subscribers who then receive a weekly box of produce. It's like a subscription box for veggies. This helps you plan your planting schedule, reduces waste, and builds a loyal community around your mini-farm. Don't underestimate the power of social media. Posting mouth-watering photos of your harvest can attract locals who want fresh produce without supermarket markups. It's also an avenue to share your farming journey, showing authenticity that might make people more inclined to buy from you rather than a big box store. Take note of everything you spend. Seed packets, potting mix, feed, even the cost of that gnome statue you insisted was essential decor. Decide if you want to break even or actually make a profit. It might take time to get in the green, but tracking every nickel and dime helps you see whether you're on track or if you need to scale up or scale down. Start with a simple spreadsheet or a free app to categorize expenses, seeds, tools, livestock feed, water bills, etc. Once you see where the bulk of your money goes, you can make informed decisions, like maybe skipping the flashy greenhouse upgrade until you've actually sold enough produce to justify it. If you're turning this into a business, consider choosing a formal structure like an LLC to protect yourself legally. This might sound intimidating, but it helps separate your personal finances from your farm's finances. So if the goats trash your neighbour's prize roses, you're less likely to lose your entire personal savings over it. But hey, let's avoid that scenario altogether, okay, goats? Check out local grants or small loans aimed at supporting urban agriculture or sustainable farming. You might be surprised by the resources available to new farmers. Even if you only snag a tiny grant, every dollar counts when you're investing in soil amendments or that dream orchard you've been planning. Some locales let you run a tiny farm business right in your yard, others really don't. Check ordinances about selling food, and if you're going big, form a business entity like an LLC. If you plan on having multiple livestock, you may need certain permits or health checks. Think of it as your farmland version of the driver's license test. Yes, it's paperwork, but it's important. Join local gardening clubs, online homesteading forums, or attend workshops by your regional ag extension. Sometimes you can swap seeds or produce with fellow enthusiasts. Farming can be solitary, but it's infinitely more fun when you have friends to compare mutant carrots with. Community is a big deal in small-scale farming. Ever have too many zucchinis and not enough tomatoes? Your neighbour might be drowning in tomatoes and desperate for some zucchinis. Trading produce not only saves money but also strengthens friendships, and your meal options instantly diversify. If you're feeling ambitious, consider hosting mini workshops in your own backyard. Show your neighbours how to compost or build a raised bed. It's a cool way to share knowledge, and sometimes you end up learning new tips from your attendees too. Collaboration is the secret sauce of thriving local farm networks. Online groups and forums can also be goldmines of advice, especially in a pinch. Got a weird leaf spot you can't identify? Snap a pic, post it, and an experienced gardener 3 states away might diagnose it in minutes. Just be sure to repay the favor when you see someone else struggling with an issue you've already tackled. Sustainable practices. Consider solar power for your chicken coop lights or try permaculture design for a self-sustaining system. Value-added goods. Turn your cucumbers into pickles or whip up jam from spare berries for extra income. Agritourism ideas, small farm tours, workshops or kids' petting days. Just make sure you have enough liability coverage if something adorable chews on a visitor's shoe. Sustainability doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as reusing rainwater for irrigation, employing natural predators instead of spraying pesticides, or rotating crops so the soil never gets exhausted. Each small tweak adds up to a healthier ecosystem and often saves you money in the long run. Value-added goods are a great way to stand out. Got leftover herbs? Dry them and create custom spice blends. Overrun with cucumbers? Pickle them with unique flavor combos. Think dill garlic, maybe even jalapenos. These special items can fetch higher prices and help mitigate any surplus produce that might otherwise go to waste. And if you're the social type, agritourism can be a blast. Opening your farm, no matter how small, to tours or special events connects consumers directly to their food source. People love seeing how things grow, meeting the animals and snapping selfies with sunflowers. Just ensure you have a safe setup so Aunt Martha doesn't trip over a rogue pumpkin vine. Remember that cryptic clue about goats? Turns out placing a simple horizontal bar about halfway up your fence line often stops their pogo stick routine. Seriously, goats hate stepping on obstacles they can't see the other side of, like a random 2x4. It's weird, but it keeps them inside. You're welcome. Goats are clever rascals and they're naturally curious. By adding a horizontal barrier, you're basically interrupting their normal approach to testing fences. It's like putting a line of tape on the floor for a cat. Some won't cross it because it's different enough to give them pause. If you're still finding your goats on your neighbour's roof, it might be time to reinforce corners, check for loose boards, and remember that goats can wiggle through shockingly narrow gaps. A sturdy fence topped with some manner of deterrent or that magical crossbar can be a game changer. Plus, consider offering goats toys or climbing structures within their pen so they have a positive outlet for that restless energy. Sometimes they escape simply because they're bored. Keep them entertained, well-fed and sufficiently challenged, and they'll be less inclined to stage a wild prison break. Now you have everything you need to sprout your first crops, manage livestock, and maybe even sell your homegrown treasures. So grab a shovel, gather your seeds, and start farming.